Hello and welcome to the Bookyard. I'm Sam.
And I'm Kai. Well, Sam, how has your week been?
It has been pretty good, actually.
Did you do anything fun? Any fun stories to share? Literally anything.
On Sunday, you came over and we forced you to go paddleboarding with us.
That is true. We did do that.
I bought a paddleboard because I need to be out in the sun, and it's going okay.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. It's really not that exciting, but it's been fun.
Fun. Okay. I'm trying to think of anything that I've done.
You just saw your family?
I just saw my family, so that was really great. I've been doing lots of farmers markets recently. Not that I'm really into that, just for some reason that's how I've appeared everywhere.
I like farmers markets.
I'm really into like the natural lemonade and you like have a jar type vibes, you know?
Are they the ones that they cut the lemons up and then like shake it in front of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been so into that. So
do you ever buy like your actual food at a farmer's market?
Oh, I messed up a corn dog the other day. Oh no, I understand what you're saying now.
Like groceries, like vegetables.
No.
The things they're like actually farming.
Sorry. I'm sorry, to answer your question, no, I don't buy my groceries at the farmer's market.
Okay.
But the corn dogs are really good.
Okay, moving just a little forward. This week we're gonna hop into a very fun new release that has received a lot of backlash online.
Yeah. Today we are going to be talking about Silver Elite by Dani Francis. If you haven't read it, I would definitely recommend reading it before we talk about this episode. Just because we want to avoid giving you any preconceived ideas of what it's going to be like or like shifting your opinion based off what we think. Because like Sam said, there are a lot of controversies. So if you can be easily swayed by books like that, definitely I would read it first. But also there are going to be spoilers in this book because duh.
Absolutely. I think just ever since we got into our podcast, I think we've gotten way better at this, where we really try to think critically about what we think about books before we listen to what other people think. Because I know that there are a lot of people, you included, who like really get influenced by like a bad review if you see one beforehand. And it's hard to like get that out of your brain while you're reading. So on this podcast, we really like to make sure that we read things and then give you the feedback of it. Yeah. You don't have to. You can listen if you want. You're totally there for it. Great. But if you're someone who does get really influenced by a lot of like controversies, we're going to dive into those today. So you can go read that first and come back later.
Yes.
You know, we'll know that you come back.
But I definitely am victim to that. So I get it. I cannot read a review before I finish a book, or I'm like, oh, that's so right. I hate this book now.
You totally do that.
And
I think it's so funny.
It's so terrible. But anyway, do you want to be blurb girl today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. This blurb is from Goodreads. It's the same one I think that it has on the back of the book, but I haven't checked. But typically they just take them right off of the publisher's site. So it says, psychic gifts are a death sentence, and there are rules to survival. Trust no one, lie to everyone, and whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. Trust no one! Wren Darlington has spent her whole life in hiding, honing her psychic abilities and aiding the rebel uprising in small ways. On the continent, being modified means certain death, and Wren is one of the most powerful mods in existence. When one careless mistake places her in the hands of the enemy and she's forced to join their most elite training program, she's finally handed the perfect opportunity to strike a devastating blow from inside their ranks. Lie to everyone! But training for Silverblock can be deadly, especially when you're harboring dangerous secrets and living in close quarters with everyone who wants you dead. And whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. As the stakes grow ever higher, Wren must prove herself to Silverblock. But that's easier said than done when your commanding officer is the ruthless and infuriatingly irresistible Cross Redden, who doesn't miss anything when it comes to her. And as war rages between mods like her and those who aim to destroy them, Wren must decide just how far she's willing to go to protect herself, and how much of the continent is worth saving.
Sam, I applaud you for your blurb. I do have to tell the listeners that when she was screaming into the mic, it was all caps to really get the full effect.
Yeah, sorry. I wasn't screaming for no reason. There are just several sentences throughout in all caps, and I needed you to get that with me.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about the controversies, but before that, let's just quickly talk about this blurb. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to move on without it.
Yeah, the blurb definitely is a blurb.
Honestly, like I'm so glad I didn't read this blurb before I read the book, because that was like a joke.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it is a very fun preview.
Trust no one!
Trust no one!
And the very ending line of how much the continent is worth saving is just killing me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She's like,
so
what
anyway,
if we just let most of the people die.
who are we willing to let just be?
No.
That's the vibes. But
really
on the controversy train of that last line, let's kind of move into what the controversies of this book are. Sam has all of the research because she was such a research girl on this. So
yeah, it's super fun. I love it. Let's just jump in here to this table we made. So there were quite a few controversies surrounding this book. First of all, it kind of came out of the blue.
Yeah.
Like it was just, no one had heard about it, and then it was all over even before it had been released. Like I got emails from Barnes & Noble. I got thousands of TikToks popping up, and it was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was written by this author, Dani Francis.
Right.
No one knows who Dani Francis is.
Nope.
It is clearly a pen name. And obviously Kai and I both believe that people are entitled to pen names.
Yeah.
Pen names in a lot of situations protect people. Right. They make it so that people who are working other jobs don't, get fired when they publish a book that people may not like. Or, especially in the realm of like romance books, it's not a super respected industry.
Right.
Like professionally around the world. I could totally imagine if my boss would love that. But I know a lot of people who would be in serious problems if their boss found out that they wrote romance on the side.
Yeah. The issue at hand is not that they are using a pen name.
Absolutely
I
not.
don't think personally. Everybody, like we said, everybody's entitled to being able to do that.
For sure.
That's not where the issue lies.
Right. And I think part of the author controversy that we've seen a lot is that the author could be a debut author or an established author. However, the amount of advertising that went into this release was like a huge coordinated effort.
Yeah.
Because, both of us saw it everywhere. It was crazy.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, when they're trying to build up to something and it takes a while, it was like, it's coming out next week, and it was everywhere.
It was right there. Yeah.
It wasn't like we had to wait a super long time or we were excited for a new book. Like, no, it was like, this is coming out next week and it's everywhere.
Yeah. And so many people were like, this is amazing. This is the best thing I've ever read.
So many.
Its reviews on Goodreads that first week or so after it came out, and even before it came out, were so incredibly high.
And even still, I think it's a 4.07.
Yeah. Well, and it feels a little odd that happened to the pen name author, right? So that's kind of where the controversy came in, because people were like, if this is a debut author, something crazy must have happened, right? But the running theory is that this is an established author,
right,
who is using a pen name for whatever reason.
Because how does a debut author get that many resources and people into it and just blow everyone out of the water?
Absolutely. Well, and that kind of leads us into one of the other theories that we saw, which was that it was either AI written or like a commissioned ghostwriter. And, there are a lot of people who have their own theories and reasons for it. Yeah. Frankly, it is a little scary because we know at some point with the rise of AI, at some point, publishers are going to throw something into our laps and it won't have been written by a human.
For sure.
Complicated feelings aside, it will probably happen. And probably soon.
Sooner rather than later, absolutely.
So, and we don't want to go into that today because we both have some very complicated feelings about AI and whatever. But we know that that's a distinct possibility and probability in our lifetime. But I don't know how we are going to tell.
And that's the hard part, is a lot of people were able to go in and be like, this mistake and this grammar and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't really notice anything except I actually did mark that there was a page where 3 times it used the same verbiage, like over and over and over. And I was like, what in the world? I found it, but it was talking about choosing the latter or leaning toward the latter, or probably the latter. It said it 3 times in one page. And I was like, but other than that, I really didn't notice anything where I was like, oh, this is not human.
Yeah. And people did mention, and they mention frequently, like the use of not super common, like grammatic tools, specifically like em dashes. But I have an issue with that because obviously, as we've talked about in the past, like I went to a college prep school and everything. Yeah. We used em dashes all the time. It's just the mark of someone who knows how to use grammar. So it's hard to classify what is like an AI leading into like tool or whether it's good or bad grammar. Right. And authors specifically go out of their way to break grammar rules on purpose. Right. That's part of being an author. It's part of the craft. So it's hard, and we're not 100% sure. And honestly, Kai and I aren't super convinced about any of the theories.
No, there isn't one that I'm like, it's this.
It's this for sure. Yeah. But we did want to talk about obviously all of the Reddit theories that we've been seeing.
Of course.
Because we had to jump in there.
Reddit is our BFF.
There are a lot of people who think that this is an established author who, for some reason or another, has decided to use a pen name. And we'll jump into a few of the authors that we've seen quite a bit and the reasons like why it could be them. First of all, I wanted to start with one that I saw a lot at the beginning here, and it was J.K. Rowling. Yeah. J.K. Rowling, we could completely understand why she would use a pen name because people really generally don't want to touch her works at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that as an author, it's hard to support her in the way that she lives her life and the way that she speaks and her beliefs. It's hard to support. And me and Sam are very conscious of who we support. I mean, we talked about this last season when we talked about Stephanie Meyer. Like, we are very conscious of who we are supporting and what they believe in.
Yeah, and I speak for myself here, but I won't touch anything that J.K. Rowling writes anymore.
No, I'm with you. So if it comes out that she read this, I think I'd be frustrated because I don't want to support her and we're giving her millions.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Stephanie Meyer was another name that we saw a ton on this list.
I don't know. There wasn't any Native Americans, so I don't know that I believe this Stephanie Meyer.
That's true, but there was a lot of like problematic behaviors. But I don't know that it could be Stephanie Meyer. Stephanie Meyer was just such like Utah Mormon vibes.
Yes, and there was no abstinence.
None of that here. Like how could this be Stephanie Meyer if the FMC was able to have a normal sexual relationship with someone?
And even if she was trying to branch out, I think this might have jumped it a little bit too much for me to be like, this was Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah, I don't know that it could be.
And I recently read a book by Stephanie Meyer. Maybe it was a while ago, but it just was not her style, I didn't think.
No. One that you wanted to mention was Colleen Hoover.
Yes, I've seen lots of Colleen Hoover because there was a while there where it was circulating that she was retiring from writing books. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, and this one came out like 3 months after that had circulated.
Yeah, and I don't know if those rumors are true or not, but I'd seen that because she's gotten so much heat, especially after her movie with Blake Lively. So I could see that. I don't know. I'm not super familiar because Colleen Hoover writes a very specific kind of sex book. Yeah. And I don't know that this is what this was.
I don't know. Because maybe she like branched out, but I really don't know.
Well, here's the hard part too, is that me and Sam are very well versed in reading authors' different works and comparing them, being like, this felt like it. We did an entire episode about it. And we've read Rebecca Yarros where she writes different like contemporaries and romances.
And she has a voice, right? She has a voice.
Yes.
But this didn't feel like a ton of authors that I know. I think that was one of the issues I talked to you about on the phone when we finished it. You were right about finished and I had just finished it. And we were on this long phone call. And this was one of my main like thoughts. And we can talk about this later if we want. But like just, I know I'll forget it if I don't say it. Yeah. This book didn't feel like it had a voice. Like it didn't feel like it was a distinct person writing it.
Yes.
Which is why I was like, could it be a debut author? Because it didn't feel like someone who had found an established voice.
Yeah, because we have read debuts before, and it kind of sometimes gives that vibe of just like, ooh, they're still trying to find what their niche is and what is going to work for them.
For sure.
So I don't know. I'm having a hard time with the Colleen Hoover thing because we've read somebody who has done a lot of contemporaries. I've read a lot of Rebecca Yarros, who does the contemporary romance thing, and then jumped into a romantasy, and it just did not give that vibe of Colleen Hoover jumping into romantasy.
For sure. No, that totally makes sense.
But we do have one theory.
Yes, this is actually obviously another Reddit theory, but I thought it was pretty like well thought out.
Yeah.
So this comes from the fantasy romance subreddit here, and it is Low Income Witch who wrote it, which, you know, relatable, buddy.
Mood.
But she writes, I'm fairly certain I figured out who Dani Francis is.
Mm-hmm.
So a person claimed on Threads that they know who Dani is and she's a real person, but she won't ever fucking tell. LOL. Sorry, I'm just reading this post, so not my words here.
Yeah, that was quotes.
Yeah. Well, I went to her Insta page and I saw that she's the PA to 2 authors, and both are repped by Kimberly Brower. So I go to Kimberly Brower's client list, and we know that Dani Francis is from Canada and repped by Brower. A simple Google search came up and showed some of her Canadian clients. I clocked one name that stood out to me and went back to the OG Insta page, who is the PA, and then I searched that person's name, and they are following the PA. To further confirm, I read that Silver Elite is a military type romance. So I searched if that author has written about the military before. Yep, she's written a military romance. The author is Elsie Silver.
T. The hard thing is I haven't read any of her other stuff.
I know. So enjoy that Reddit post there, and thank you, Low Income Witch. But we haven't read any of Elsie Silver, so we couldn't tell you, you know?
I want to make a Reddit username that's called Low Income Bitch.
You could be a rhyming buddy with Low Income Witch.
I know. That was just random. But anyway,
yeah, that is kind of the author controversy there. And frankly, people are entitled to privacy. We totally get it. I think just going into this book, it was a little bit hard. And I think this last thing that I'm going to talk about here kind of puts that into perspective. This one that I'm going to talk about is just publishing.
Yeah.
So after I kind of went down the author and AI and everything rabbit hole and spent like an entire night going over all the different theories.
Right.
So I could explain them concisely because I just like was all over the place.
Yeah.
I came across this Substack article and I've kind of been thinking about it for a few weeks at this point because I really loved it. It really impacted me. The article was written by Michelle Schusterman, who is an author herself. She is like a ghost author. And then I think she does middle grade work.
Okay.
So
is she like with Neil?
I don't know if she's related to Neil, but what if they're married?
That's what I was just thinking. Anyway. Respect.
The article's really valuable, and I'll link it in the description to this episode so you can access it if you'd like to read it. But she writes about this real controversy is what she says. And she says that the real controversy is the double standard of publishers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into the entire article, but I did want to read some little spots here for us.
Mm-hmm.
She writes, here's what actually bothers me. Whoever Dani Francis is, they have done zero marketing for this book that they've had to put their own name, words, and face to.
Mm-hmm.
No TikTok, no newsletter, no carefully curated Instagram grid, no blue sky memes, nothing. And yet Silver Elite is selling like hotcakes. Why? Because the publisher decided to get behind it. Full stop. For the past decade, authors have been told, if you want to succeed, you have to build your platform. You have to be online. You have to do the marketing yourself. But clearly that's not true. And look, I'm not saying all authors can just be off-grid and not have any online presence at all. I'm not saying it can't help, but it is not the end-all be-all. And using an author's meager online following as a reason to reject an otherwise great book is, well, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
If a publisher puts real money behind a book, it will find its readers. The author's name, past sales, and online presence are important, sure. But the budget is and always has been the secret sauce. So why are we still being told otherwise? So that's why I really thought about this episode a lot and this book.
Mm-hmm.
Because quite frankly, we've seen this a lot in publishing recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
there are so many people reading now, which is so awesome. And I'm so excited that people are getting into reading. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen the quality of publishing rise with the amount of authors.
Right.
Or, you know, with the interest. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me because when we tell authors that they are responsible for their success, all the while knowing that publishers have the power to promote books.
Right.
And they choose to promote books that aren't high quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
Especially where I know a lot of new people, and this is not to hate, and I know that everybody is different, but you can definitely tell when somebody's newer to reading and they haven't been exposed to like really awesome literature yet.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I mean it in the nicest way possible, but sometimes people will read, they're new to reading and they read a book, and I'm victim of this too, where I read the most mid book ever and it's like, this was amazing. And then as they continue their reading journey, they're like, woo, that was really not the best book. So it's really hard where these publishers are pushing these books that are mediocre at best, and then all these authors are getting this awesome income and clout and all this stuff for mediocre books.
Right. Well, and it's hard because I've been in the very like fortunate position to know people who have written their own books, which is amazing.
Yeah.
In the last neighborhood I lived in, we had this neighbor and she had written several books.
Yeah.
And couldn't get published, even though the people who read her books loved her books, to the point where she started her own publishing company and self-published all of these books. And she was making an incredible income from it, but publishers wouldn't touch it. She was unknown. She didn't know anyone in the industry, and it was hard, but she knew that there was a market there.
Yeah, well, and it seems like she was hardworking and ready to put in the work, so it seems really frustrating that nobody would take her up.
Right. Well, and then my high school English teacher.
Yeah.
Mr. Dowdle. Hey. Bud. He wrote like several books. Mm-hmm. And at one point we finally convinced him to let us read them. And I remember I loved them. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember where like the manuscript or anything is, but I like loved them. I ate them up. And I know he queried agents like every month.
Yeah.
And it's hard because we know so many people who are aspiring authors and who have dedicated their lives to getting better at a craft. Mm-hmm. And we know that publishers have the ability to promote good quality writing.
Yes.
But where they choose to spend their energy should tell us more about them.
For sure.
I don't want to attack publishers right now, but like they should probably get their shit together.
Well, and we're in the world we live in today with social media and advertising, people are really reliant on other people's opinions, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And I kind of fall into that. I am very susceptible to people's opinions and being like, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously I have my opinions that are mine to hold, but especially with books, like if somebody tells me this was an amazing book, I want to read it. Like that is what we do. So relying on these publishers to be pushing out these books that are supposed to be great and then they're kind of not is frustrating.
Well, and I think that as readers, we have the responsibility to hold publishers accountable for what they put out. Mm-hmm. I think that we see that a lot today with all kinds of media, and I don't know that we've caught up with publishers.
Yeah.
Right? I think that we are responsible for the media that we consume, so we want to make sure that we are able to make conscious decisions about that. But I also think that as readers, we do have a responsibility to let publishers know when their works are not up to par.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was a really
so
long
deep.
ramble, but
yeah.
I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I think that it's okay, and I'm glad that we're talking about it because I think that we try to be transparent here on our podcast. So I think that it's great. Kind of shifting a little bit. Sorry, that was just so intense. Let's talk a bit more about the book itself and a few things that I personally want to mention we'll get into.
Yes.
So before I kind of get into more of my personal opinions on the book, I do want to say this wasn't the worst book I've ever read.
No.
I know that I'm kind of going dramatic here and being like, ah, but I've actually read a good chunk of bad books recently.
You've had a little wave.
I've had a little wave. So this definitely wasn't a terrible book, especially the first 100 pages. I was like, okay, I'm into this. This is giving the right vibes. Mm-hmm. The further it went on, the more I was kind of like, But I just do want to preface that this wasn't the worst book I've ever read.
That's true.
So
and I also think that we will see, this is supposed to be a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we don't have the end of the controversy or anything, but I do think that could someone like fix it?
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
It really will depend, I think.
Right. And we'll kind of get into some of our issues, but it definitely can grow because we see in a lot of, especially trilogies, where we don't like things and they can kind of adjust it as they go.
Yeah.
So I'm open to reading the rest of the series, but I just wanted to get that out here. So you're not just thinking that we're just haters. Because there were a couple of things where I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it, though, the characters. Ren as a main character was just kind of a mess for me. I feel like as a main character here, an FMC in this dystopian world supposed to be changing type vibe, she just had no personal beliefs or opinions and would constantly change what she believed in. And then when she would kill people, she had zero qualms about it. She was just like, oh, well, you know. She'd be really sad for like a couple of paragraphs and then it would just be like, and that's just life. And it was very hard because I feel like FMCs, especially in the world we live in with females, should have a lot more strong opinions and should have at least good opinions. If we're writing female characters who are supposed to be strong and independent, they should kind of represent that.
Right. Okay, we actually just took a break because we were like, how old was Ren as a character? Because
she's 15.
Like, but she's 20. Like, at that age, you should probably know something, right?
Yeah, especially where she is in the population that is being oppressed.
Right. And I definitely wanted to talk about this for a minute.
Yeah.
It was one of my biggest like critiques of the book. I think it was really like my only critique that I felt passionate about because the rest of it I was just like, the book was definitely marketed as like a dystopian romantasy. And we were supposed to see this like very strong female character. And it really was. Her beliefs just like were constantly in flux. And it was kind of problematic. Like it was just not something that like was great for me. But I wanted to, while I have you here, here's a quote from Dani Francis.
Okay.
Over on Barnes & Noble, she wrote this spot about why she wrote Silver Elite.
Okay.
And I thought it kind of loaned to Ren as a main character and then also like my issue with the book.
Okay.
She wrote, I've always loved dystopian stories. You know the kind, the crumbling world, the impossible stakes, the heroine who finds strength she didn't know she had. But all the stories that made me fall in love with the genre were young adult fiction. And while I still adore them, as a reader, I was craving something a little more heated on the page. In YA, those longing glances and intense slow burns often culminate in kissing. Hard won and written exceptionally well, mind you, but when the world is burning and everything is literally life and death, I wanted to read something that matched those stakes. That's part of what led me to write Silver Elite. I wanted a dystopian story that has all the grit and danger and tension, but also turns up the heat.
Oh, I don't know that I really liked that.
No, that was pretty much my issue with it, is that Ren as a character kind of reminds me of this fun quote here. She wanted a dystopian romantasy. I have never, and this may just be a personal thing.
Yeah, okay, I'm ready.
I've
never
never read a dystopian world. And I thought, you know what I would be doing in this situation?
Banging. You know, and when I first started this book, before all the banging, I was like, this is kind of giving not Hunger Games vibes, but Divergent. Specifically Divergent movies.
Divergent movies vibe.
The books maybe are too good for comparison, but the movies, that vibe. But
I the exact Divergent movie vibe for sure.
Exactly. But I never have read a book like this and been like, ooh, I really wish that I could have him eating her out right now.
No, absolutely
like
not.
Never. Because you know, in like, I'm trying to think which one it is, when there's a war going on and people are like banging in the camp and you just sit there and
that was Sarah J Maas. That was Feyre and Rhysand.
And it was like, why are you guys doing this?
They were like, the screams of the murdered are like coming to our tent, and they like totally like are just getting it on, and you're like,
yeah,
that was the most insensitive part of the book.
Well, and I just don't, it just kind of bothers me because it seems just very like irresponsible. It also is following the Sarah J Maas when Kale and Irene have a baby. And I'm like, why in the world
a baby right now?
Are you having sex and like, I know that you like weren't trying to get pregnant, but like you also can prevent it.
Right. You're a literal healer. That's kind of what you do.
That's kind of what you do. You know about the tonics and crap. So why the hell are you not being responsible? It just gives me such an icky vibe, because if the world was ending, why am I trying to get it on with my enemy?
Right. That in and of itself is my issue with Ren as a person.
Yeah.
And also the book.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That it seems highly inappropriate, and like the moral values that an FMC should have, or even an MMC, I really am not going to distinguish here, that a main character should have, just weren't present. And they were so changing that it was super hard. When I originally wrote my review on Goodreads, and it was just a small one,
but she's been doing so good, guys.
I know, I'm following my goal.
Yay!
But I put on there that I was really thrown off by the dystopian romance genre, because, and I said this, I think what so many people love about dystopian worlds is that we get to see this group of people who fight for a vision of a better world, right? And this book didn't have it. It was what was missing from the book. There are these two groups who have basically taken turns committing genocide against one another.
Yes.
And then the protagonists who are caught between those worlds. Except they're really not, because both of them are modified people. They both have abilities.
Yeah.
Right? But one of them, for some reason, is on the side of the people who are straight up murdering them. But they've both been complicit and are continually complicit in atrocities committed by both sides. And it doesn't get in the way of their relationship, which is my problem with Ren.
Yeah.
Because if you are a person who has any kind of values in the world, it should be icky to you if your partner is complicit in a genocide.
And I think that the genocide thing was just too, I don't mean to be mean to Dani Francis, because we don't know if this was a first book of theirs or a new type of genre for them, but the genocide was too much. They didn't know how to do it and bring in the romantic elements.
Right. Well, and you know what? It could be broadly speaking, but it is like that. That is the definition of it. They were killing everybody who was like modified. It was a crime.
Yeah.
And you had to self-identify or become a slave, which was crazy.
Yes.
Because there was like legitimate slavery and murders and all kinds of atrocities happening on both sides. The rebellion was just like full of assholes who like really didn't have a goal except to kill the other guys.
Yes, there is no goals.
No person in this book who had a vision for a better world.
None. It was just like, well, we just have to win. We just have to kill them. And
but then they would be like, winning?
But then they'd be like, oh, but I don't want to kill. And it's like, what are your morals? What is your vision? Right. What do you want the world to be like?
What is the end? Like, where is our end goal?
It just was so frustrating, because if Ren would have had a good idea of what she wanted, I think this book could have been so much better.
Right. And honestly, like I said, I think she could turn it around. But for me, an entire book without any kind of end resolution goal is too far. Isn't that the first goal? The first thing we learn in writing is give your character a goal.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be the end goal at first.
No, and
but
it can
going
change.
Hundreds of pages without knowing what the end world should look like is not one that I really want to be a part of.
Or even having an idea. She had no idea. It was just straight up like, I don't like this. And it's like, girl, you don't have any idea of what you want the world to look like or any goals of like, I want this. No, she just would be like, well, I have to do this. Oh, I shouldn't do this. I actually have a quote here, if you don't mind me
please go.
Throwing in here. I read this on my Kindle, and I made a note. The note says, this is so dumb. But let me read this.
That's what you wanted to share.
No. I have to read the quote, but
Okay.
I just had to say that like that was my note for it.
I love it.
It says, the ranch is gone. My village is being watched. People like Fatima are being executed by an 18-year-old prick who's scared of her. Because that's what it comes down to. They can spew all their horseshit. They can spew all the horseshit they want about our blood being toxic and that we're abominations who shouldn't exist. But the truth is, they fear us. That's why they're trying to get rid of us. I won't let that happen. I won't let anyone else I care about get executed. So, Silverly it is. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Because once again, she has no like goal. She's just like, well, I hate this. I'm not letting it happen, but I guess I have to go hang out with the enemy.
For sure.
She has no plan of like infiltration of their like program, nothing. It's just, I guess I have to go there.
Right. And we can talk about that with characters a little bit here. We actually see someone in this book who is undercover, Kane, and he is in Silver Elite.
Yes.
Undercover for the rebellion and completely focused on his goal.
Yep.
Where at the end of the day, he's made friends, he's been part of their program, he whatever, but he holds himself back from like, you know, having a real relationship with people because he's like undercover and going to try to murder them. So like it's like he knows what he stands for and immediately like works towards that. Yeah. But we don't get that from Ren.
No. Another character I really have issues with is Cross, which, first of all, that is the worst name I've ever heard in the entire planet. This is the main love interest.
And that's his first name.
Cross. That's not like a fun like last name.
Because there is a last name Cross, and that's like super fun. And I'm like, cool, kind of intense. The first name is Cross.
And like, I don't, she meets him at the very beginning, and like, obviously he's like the hottest man she's ever seen. And you're like, okay, we see where this is going, but we don't see like an evolution of their relationship. Like they meet, they obviously think one another's hot, and then he's obviously like the main general at this camp, and then he just magically is everywhere, and then he's just like, I'm obsessed with you. And then they just start banging, but then there's like gaps of time where we'll finish a chapter and then go to the next chapter, and it's like, it's been 2 months and me and Cross have slept together almost every night, and it's like, what?
But what?
But they also don't have like any emotional connection, but then when it comes down to it, he's willing to do whatever it takes to save her, and they're like, I love you. And it's
and
like,
he's absolutely obsessed with her. Like, we see at that time he like gets drunk and is just like, I can't stop thinking about you.
Yes.
And you're like, dude.
Yes.
First of all, there's a huge power imbalance here. You're literally the general in charge of my school.
Oh my gosh. And I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but there is a little side thing where Ren can communicate telepathically. And she has a code name, Daisy, because when she was little, she connected with a random child who went by Wolf. As soon as you hear this, you're like, obviously it's going to be the main guy.
Obviously Cross is Wolf and
obviously
Ren is Daisy,
duh. So then when they find out that they are who they are, then they're just like, I love you. Like they just, once again, there's like no talk about it. And I know that it adds a little bit of being like, okay, they know each other a little bit better. But even before they knew who one another was, I still think that Cross was willing to do whatever it took for Ren.
Absolutely. And it was so weird because we also get that moment, and this kind of goes along with the tropes that are there, but we also get this moment where I guess Cross has a pattern of dating people who are at his fun school because
totally.
She is with his like ex-girlfriend. She's also a student there. And like the ex-girlfriend's consistently like, well, don't even worry about it. He's going to forget about you just like he forgets about all of us because he's the hottest thing here.
Yeah. And when his brother's like, you're not his type.
And for some like inexplicable moment, Cross is just like, nope, this is it. This is love. This is who I'm with.
But
like Ren doesn't have like a personality.
No, she not once is like, I care about him so much. We just hear their like conversation.
No, and he'll like express concern at sometimes, and she'll just be like, oh yeah, he's killing people. Yeah, I can't talk to you about that.
Like it's kind of, I know you have a quote here from the book.
Yes, it was, okay, hold on, I have to find it. Okay, yeah, this is a quote. Ren says, I usually don't sleep with guys who've killed thousands of my people.
Just so casually.
That's
I don't
an
usually.
actual quote.
Like I don't, just once again, no morals. And I know that Cross was supposed to be like this awesome, because you know every story has one, and kind of going into the tropes of like the bad guy who actually is a good guy and like you're supposed to love him. I just didn't care for him. If he died in the next book, I'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Right. Like I think again there's a lot of room for him to like become a good person, and maybe that's like why it was there. But if that's the case, there's a whole few hundred pages of setup for it, which we don't need.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep dabbling a little bit, so let's really just dive into the tropes, because one of my main critiques also was after I finished, I was like, how is there literally every single romantasy trope that could possibly exist within this book?
There absolutely is.
Like, how do you hit so many of them at one time?
I don't know. I don't know if she just like pulled up a list.
Which is like I need to use these.
To fit this one up.
But it's like we have an enemies to lovers. We have fake deaths.
We have an overpowered FMC who for some random reason is like one of the most powerful people we've ever seen. And you can tell because her weird birthmark's bigger than everybody else's.
But it's not like she like gains it with like good knowledge or like later on in the story. Because I'm into that sometimes. Yeah. No, she's just born with it.
She's just born with it, man. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's a poorly written romantasy.
Maybelline? Like the makeup?
Yeah.
Oh,
because of their like thing.
Oh,
maybe it's Maybelline.
I was just Anyway, we do have a dude who's actually a good dude, but he's supposed to be bad. That was Cross, who's supposed to be like the bad guy, but he's maybe not actually good.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones is we have the Dick younger prince, who's like genuinely a psychopath, and the like older brother's the good like romance person, but like the younger brother is genuinely a psychopath.
Yeah, we have they're friends, but they don't know it yet because they're doing their weird mind reading thing.
This all takes place in school, so that's a fun trope.
Yes. She somehow finds ways to just break the actual rules by being an idiot. Like in one example is they're like, you can only have one cadet to a bed, and she sleeps in a bed with somebody else, and then they're like, hey, and she's like, I didn't know.
She's like, this is just to show you because your rule was wrong.
It's just ridiculous. Like, and Cross is like drooling.
And Cross for some reason doesn't kick her out of the school, which is why everyone has an issue with her because she keeps doing stupid stuff and everyone's like, dude, everyone else has gotten expelled.
Yep.
What's your problem?
Yep.
For some reason, she does exactly what she's been trained not to do her whole life and gets everybody killed. So like she was raised basically from like her small childhood to like not draw attention to herself ever. And this whole like inciting event is because she like sees a giant animal off like in the distance who's attacking a little boy, and she like shoots it through the eye, and you were like, honey, this was literally your whole training. You couldn't have just shot it somewhere else.
That's what I don't understand. Like, why could she not have just shot it somewhere else, or tried to shoot it once and missed or something?
Yeah, like she was like, I was just like panicked and I had to save him, but like do you have any kind of self-preservation instinct? No, and you got your fun uncle killed. So
yeah. Another one, the living in the dark forest for literal years.
She's Batman.
That's what Sam keeps saying, and it's so funny.
So she walks back into the forest and he's like, oh my gosh, how do you do this? And she's like, I was raised by the forest.
I was raised here. I only know darkness.
Yeah.
Nothing. In the beginning of the book, she's like, nothing makes me fear anything.
And then the whole book, she's pretty much afraid.
She's like, ah!
Like, oh my gosh.
This is so scary.
She steals a motorcycle for no reason and is just like, this is scary. And you're like, what the? What? She also has a flirty friend that isn't going to be the love interest. And I'm sure he's going to do something here in the next book or two
for sure,
to just like absolutely teach us for once and for all that the guy who has upstanding morals is actually an asshole.
For sure. Those were just a couple of the tropes, but
there's every trope.
I'm serious. I can't think of one trope other than the pregnancy trope that wasn't.
Does she have an animal friend? She doesn't have an animal sidekick.
Technically yet. Wolf.
She kind of does.
Like Loki.
Okay. Well, hopefully she gets an animal sidekick.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's like a squirrel.
I was kind of wanting like a big deer.
Either way, an animal from the dark forest that's just like not intimidating at all.
Totally. Yeah. I don't know. What were your overall thoughts on this book?
Okay. Like we said at the beginning, this really wasn't the worst book I've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't at any point of reading this think I'm gonna not finish this.
Yeah.
It was fairly compelling. It was easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it was enjoyable. Like, as I was reading through it, I was just like, this is fun. This is fun.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those books that I picked up and I was done in like a day and a half or 2 days and was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep.
And then honestly, the more I was like processing it, and obviously all of these things stuck out to me in the middle of the book, but I was just like, it wasn't enough to make me not read it.
Yeah.
For sure. So overall, I didn't love it. I didn't like it that much, but it's not like, if someone were to be like, I really loved Silver Elite, I don't think I would be like, well, you're a stupid dumbass.
You're an idiot.
I think I would just be like, oh, okay, yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but like, I get it.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. I don't think it was the worst book I've ever read, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
I think I'm very specific for the person I would recommend it to and kind of the warning I would give them beforehand. I think if it was somebody who really doesn't do a lot of intelligent, like beyond thinking, I'd be like, you really like this book.
Absolutely.
But for my friends who like do really ponder the concepts and the morals of a book, I would kind of be like, hey, this book really doesn't have any of that. I mean, it was fun. It was like, okay, but I don't know that you're going to get that if you're looking for that.
Yeah, I think it was way more romance than it was anything else.
Yeah.
Which I don't mean like derogatorily, because romance has its place and I like romance.
I love romance, yeah. So I think I'm open to reading the rest of the trilogy, but I'm also not like counting down the days until it's here.
Oh no, I'm going to forget about it until then.
Next episode, we are bringing back one of our favorite things that we did in season 1. And it's the best and worst. This time we're doing of Planted in Pages.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. They really delivered for this assignment. They went on a theme. Are we wanting to spoil the theme or are we making them wait?
Ooh, I don't know. You decide.
Final consensus. We are not going to say what the theme is, but there is a theme.
Yes.
And that was so fun to have a theme. So you're going to have to come back for that, because I actually really thought this was an awesome book comparison for them.
Like genuinely, it was so good.
It was so awesome. If you liked today's episode, you're in luck. We post every Monday. And if you're looking to get your fix throughout the week, you can also follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at The Bookyard Pod.
Bye.
See you guys.